Hi, junior families. I'm Tia Hill, Director of College Counseling, and this presentation has been recorded to share a recap of what we presented at College Night for Juniors on Wednesday, November 5th. It's designed for the class of 2027 and their families. I'll be joined in this presentation by Caitlin Bart, who is our Associate Director of College Counseling. Both Caitlin and I have spent over 10 years working at Davidson Day and very much enjoy this part of the process when we are focused on our junior class. Caitlin has previously shared her time with the admission office. However, starting this year, she is full-time in college counseling, which is so exciting and definitely will benefit you and your families in terms of our time, our energy, our programs. We know it's going to be a very good thing, so we're thrilled about that shift. Although we begin working with students as early as 9th grade, junior year is really when our work becomes much more personalized. This is when we want to begin individual meetings, family meetings. We'll talk about all of that through this recording and help you understand when those things take place and what you need to do to be prepared. So far in the academic year, we have spent a lot of time focused on seniors. And so it's been action-oriented, it's been deadline-based, it's been helping them complete applications. And while that's so energizing and so fun, what we love is this transition as we begin to focus on juniors, because we get to slow down a little bit. We get to know you and your students better. We get to explore colleges with them. We get to talk about their criteria. And for us, it's an exciting time. For you, we hope that it helps keep you informed and that it helps ease some anxiety that you might be feeling about this college search process. Caitlin and I work together in all elements of this process. However, we do set individual caseloads so that you know exactly who your point person is in this process. We have already sent emails to all students in our caseloads with parents copied. Those were sent on Wednesday, November 5th. So you should have that information by now. If you have any questions, certainly reach out.
Great. Now that we've introduced ourselves, let's learn more about the class of 2027. Many of you may already be familiar with this exceptional junior class, as one of them are your very own. However, I just wanted to share a bit more about the 48 students who make up this group. They are world travelers, volunteers, student athletes, and multi-state champions, actors and actresses, equestrian riders, siblings, only youngest and oldest children, advocates and leaders, and so much more. While girls take the slight majority by one, they represent a strong balance of gender and backgrounds. And most recently, we traveled together for our annual class trips, where we saw 3 college campuses and spent quality time in Dollywood, Tennessee. With so much going for them and such a diverse set of interests and goals, we are looking forward to working with this class and getting to know you and your students even better.
Here is our agenda for this presentation. We're going to talk about our college counseling philosophy, provide a timeline, an overview of SCORE. We'll talk standardized testing, how to build a balanced college list. We'll go through the nuts and bolts of the application process, and then we'll spend just a moment talking about roles and responsibilities. Now, some of this presentation will be repetitive from college nights in the past. The elements that are repetitive are intentional. It is repetitive because we think they're good pieces for you to hear through each part of the process, no matter what year you and your student are in. However, our hope is that it is mostly new information. One piece that we know you've heard before, if you've attended a college night presentation, is our college counseling philosophy. Want to just reiterate our goals to be individualized and to be student-centered. Okay, now let's talk timeline. So before we talk about what's on the horizon, we want to look back and talk about what we've already done. So this fall, the class trip for juniors was focused on college visits. Your students visited Furman University, the University of Tennessee, and Carson Newman. The goal was to see a variety of campuses in a variety of locations and to now have information we can discuss together as we talk about criteria. Specifically, can talk through what your students liked or didn't like on each of these campuses and use that to help guide some of our conversations about their college list. We also have college counseling newsletters that you all have been receiving since 9th grade. If you'd like to look back at some of these newsletters, they are archived. This link in the presentation should take you straight to that archive. These go to both parents and students, but are very much designed with students in mind. We try to keep them as relevant, as streamlined as possible. Please make sure you're reading through those. Please make sure if you have questions, you're reaching out, but those are very intentional in terms of the content that's shared. Now that you're in junior year, those newsletters will arrive quarterly, and in senior year, a bit more frequently. College admission rep visits, these happen each fall. We have anywhere from 70 to 80 college reps visit our campus and meet with your students. In most cases, the college admission rep who visits us is the person who either reads your student's application or who makes the decision about your student's applications. Because of that, there is so much value to these visits. There's so much value to your students taking time to introduce themselves, to shake a hand, and to make sure this college rep can put a face with a name, can put a face with an application. These will happen again in fall of your student's senior year, and frankly, will be more important to them than ever. And that, of course, is information we'll be emphasizing throughout the year. Every year we share a summer enrichment guide. In the past, these have typically come to you in January. This year, we'll be sending it in December. That's because we're noticing that some of these pre-college programs and summer enrichment programs are setting earlier deadlines and opening their applications earlier. So we'll be sending that in December for you to sort through. It is exactly what it sounds like. It's a guide that lists opportunities in all sorts of subject areas. Our hope for your students is that they do something productive with their summer. It could be an opportunity that they find in this guide, but it also may be a summer job. It may be an internship. It could be a special project, a hobby that they love. All of that is perfectly fine. Again, we just want to encourage them to do something. And this guide is designed to provide some ideas and to give some conversation starters. Advisory meetings, we have met with your students through the time in our calendar that's designated for advisory. We call them college counseling seminars. Thus far, in 9th and 10th grade, our students primarily met with us as a group about once a month. Those shift. Starting now, we are meeting with the juniors every single Tuesday. That will happen from now until basically this time of their senior year. We use those meetings to really dive in with them on action items that need to be done and to educate about what is happening in the admission process and what they need to be thinking about. And then so far, standardized testing, we have administered the PSAT every single year to your students, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. And then in junior year, we administered the official ACT. Scores from both the PSAT and the ACT that took place here in October are now available to your students. They can find those in their individual accounts. So for ACT, that's the ACT.org. For the PSAT, it's their College Board account. Okay, so that's what we've already done. So now looking ahead, where we are now is in this middle box that begins with college night. So what's next are our face-to-face meetings. Caitlin and I want to meet with every single junior, with every single junior family. We start with the individual meetings and sent an email yesterday, November 5th, to each student with a calendar link asking them to pick a time during a study hall that they can meet with us. These meetings typically last about 45 minutes. I think they're a ton of fun. We're talking to your students about their interest and really getting to know them better and giving them time and space to talk and think about what they're looking for in their college search process. We do hope these happen in study halls, and we'd like them to happen before we head home for holiday break in December. However, we recognize some juniors don't have a study hall this semester. Those students can wait till January or they can reach out and we can find a time during lunch or after school or at some other time of day to make these happen. We don't want them to wait unless that is what works best for them. Okay, and after the individual meeting, we want to have family meetings. Our goal is to have everyone in the same room hearing the same information at the same time. Now, we recognize family calendars can be challenging, so we can also do multiple versions of this. We can meet with each parent and the student separately. We can meet all together. Again, we want to make this work based on your circumstances and whatever works best for you. Before those family meetings happen, we are asking families to complete a family survey. That survey will be found in SCORE. It's going to be something that's available starting Friday, November 7th. When you complete that survey, you will be emailed by your college counselor with a link to set up the family meeting. The link will have all of our availability, and we will also share with you your student's schedule. The goal is to schedule these meetings during your student's study hall, just like those individual meetings. But again, we can have flexibility and do whatever it is that works best for you. Okay, so as these individual junior meetings are taking place, what parents can do is make sure they've set up their SCORE account. Invitations were sent to set those accounts up on Wednesday, November 5th. Within their SCORE account, there is a parent survey that will be assigned on Friday, November 7th. This survey is your opportunity to have a voice in the process. It's your opportunity to share with us any important information you want us to know about your student, to share your insights and your perspectives. Those surveys are helpful for all sorts of reasons. It helps us in getting to know your student, but also very much helps us when we sit down to write counselor recommendation letters in terms of context, in terms of anecdotes. We really love reading these, so we encourage you to spend some time on it. SCORE will allow you to start a survey, save your information, and come back to it. So again, we really want to encourage you to spend a little bit of time thinking through your answers and responding in a way that really shares with us details that help us understand you and your family better. Once the parent surveys are complete, you will receive an email from your college counselor with an invitation to set up a family meeting. Those family meetings can take place at whatever time is best for you. Our preference is that it's during your student's study hall, and we'll share with you their schedule to help you identify when those study halls are taking place. We understand calendar management can be challenging, and so while we would love to have everybody here at once, we can do whatever version works best for you all. We can meet with each parent separately. We can also find time after school, before school if needed. So we ask that you look first at our scheduling link, and after that, you can reach out if the time doesn't work, and we'll be as flexible as needed. As we move into the spring, we want the focus to very much be in college research and visits and on standardized testing. For the college research piece, we'll talk in a bit about resources. Do want you to be thinking about visits. Now is the best time to see college campuses and to start exploring cities as a family. Spring break is an excellent time to make this happen. If you do plan to do college visits during spring break, I want to encourage you to move forward with some of those plans now. Nationwide, spring break's a very popular time to visit campuses, and so colleges can fill up. To schedule visits, you need to visit individual college websites, go to their campus visit page, and typically there are a couple times a day where they're doing information sessions and campus tours, and they will just let you sign up directly on the website. In terms of standardized testing, spring is a time to focus on test prep and testing. Caitlin's going to cover that a bit more thoroughly in just a bit. And then summer, as I've already mentioned, the time for enrichment programs. Also, we will host an application boot camp. This is for all seniors. We typically have very close to, if not 100% participation. And so want you to just flag this right now. We do not have the date set yet, unfortunately. We will do 2 different dates. They'll be identical programs, and students will pick one to attend. Historically, one of the two sessions has been the day before classes begin. Our hope is it will also be that way for the class of 2027. That's to help capture anybody who might have vacations or other plans that can't be moved. Both, however, will be in the month of August, and both are designed to make sure your students have everything they need to really hit the ground running when senior year begins.
All right, I'm here to talk to you about SCORE. It is pronounced SCORE like you score a goal, although many of you likely say something like Squire, and your child may or may not be correcting you or getting frustrated with your lack of knowledge. First, tell them I said you can pronounce it however you want, but if you want to be correct, our college search platform is called SCORE. This is utilized for college search, college list, and application management, and has a pretty robust career planning aspect that utilizes personality assessments to inform career choices for the future. So we like it for the fullness that it has to offer. Students have had SCORE accounts since their freshman year, however, have likely not utilized it much beyond signing up for weekly college admission representative visits. However, as we begin to see them more frequently, they will find themselves in this account nearly every single time we meet this year and next fall. SCORE allows us to track the quantity of times that a student has logged in, so it gives us an opportunity to hold the students accountable to utilizing the resources and following along with us during these advisory meetings. All the personal information, demographics, and academic are stored for the use of ourselves and the student. The information is not shared with the colleges. Parents who have not yet set up a SCORE account received an email with an invitation to create their accounts last night. These invitations are time sensitive. Another great aspect of this system is that you as parents have a great deal of access within your own accounts, allowing you the opportunity to explore and navigate the platform on your own. So you don't need to log into your student's account or reach over their desks. You can kind of have your separate and own process, and it will all land in one place. We will use SCORE for personality and career assessments as already introduced through advisory to students last week. Many of our students have already completed their Personality U assessment. It's also going to be part of your search process as there are surveys to be completed prior to individual and family meetings. One of the coolest features that users get most excited about is the ability to manage the college list. So for those of you who are already proactive go-getters and have some version of an Excel spreadsheet going, this is a one-stop shop for all of us, student, counselor, and parents, to see where the student is in their search process. We can all add schools to your student's list and get a sense of where they are in their interest level for each of these schools. In the next few months, students will mostly be navigating their suggested and following lists. The applying and applied list will be updated during the fall of your student's senior year. No student should add a college to their applying list yet, as you are still in the exploratory phase of your college search process. If you rule out a school, we ask that from this point forward, you don't delete it, but rather move it to that not interested list. We often find students have a little bit of an easier time sometimes figuring out what they don't like than exactly what they do like. When they do find what they like, a student will move it to their following list, indicating they like the school and they want to learn more. Shifting gears, I'll now talk about standardized testing. And when I say standardized testing, I'm really referring to the ACT and the SAT. I'll go through some common terminology, timeline, recommendations, and more. There are 4 common standardized testing policies. The first is often what you most commonly think of. Test scores are required. A student must submit a standardized test score as part of their application. This feels pretty easy and straightforward, and many times familiar to parents who have already gone through this process themselves. However, especially since 2020, many colleges and universities adopted a test optional test flexible, or even test blind and test free policy. I'll go through those now. Test optional are colleges that do not require a standardized test score for admission. Students have a choice, the option to submit test scores or not. Test flexible, students are given the option for what kind of test scores or other approved alternatives they want to submit to demonstrate their college readiness. And then finally, there's test blind and test free, colleges that do not consider scores at all, even if submitted to the institution. A notable example of test-free institutions are the California public colleges and universities. For perspective, in 1995, there were 231 test-optional institutions. Today, there's over 2,000 accredited four-year colleges and universities with ACT, SAT optional or test-free testing policies. It's important to be mindful that each college and university has their own testing policy, and these testing policies can change year to year. So we encourage families to go directly to the college or university website to verify and confirm testing policies for that specific application cycle. You can always utilize FairTest for a comprehensive list of test optional institutions, but there really is no one size fits all for how an institution navigates and identifies their testing policy. On this slide are now some long-time popular and test optional schools in the Carolinas. You'll see the Furman University, High Point University, Queen's University, Wake Forest University, and Wofford College logos up on the screen now. On the screen now are logos of those institutions that are on the opposite end of the spectrum, those that require test scores. You'll see places like the University of Florida, Georgetown University, MIT, the Air Force, University of Tennessee, Knoxville, University of Georgia, just to name a few. Finally, when it comes to Chapel Hill and the other universities in the UNC system, they are currently test optional for those with a weighted GPA of 2.8 or above. These decisions are ultimately made by state legislators, though. So institution to institution doesn't necessarily have a choice as to which testing policy and when their testing policies are going to be changing. We want all of our students to be in a position to have test scores as part of their admission process. All students who have been enrolled at Davidson Day since the 9th grade have taken the PSAT each fall. In addition to the recent PSAT and MSQT that they sat for in October, students also took an ACT. We will be reviewing these results during junior meetings and craft a personalized testing plan with each student. From this point forward, we do encourage students to engage with test prep. We have a list of test prep organizations we can recommend. However, the test prep that you choose to engage with really needs to best suit you, your family, and your students' needs. Test prep is very much dependent on the student's preferred learning style, budget, location, etc. So our list provides a variety of options in these categories. Once your student is prepped, each family is responsible for registering for and ultimately choosing to send these test score institutions. We'll continue to help you in this process. And really, when I say family, I mean the student. It is the student who needs to register for the test through their own account and ultimately send the test from their own account. So here's a calendar visual by month of our recommended testing timeline for the traditional student. There are other timelines for those with earlier processes as well as later processes. But the variety of testing policies that we've talked through so far is exactly why we have continued to administer the ACT and PSAT and have continued to encourage our students to prioritize this conversation around testing to ensure that they have the opportunity to have it as part of their process should they need or want it. It is important to us that our Davidson Day students come to the table with everything possible to be the most successful in the college application process. And then from there, hopefully, they have the choice to include what best serves them.
Let's talk next about building a balanced college list. Caitlin and I very much believe that college is a match to be made, not a prize to be won. Our goal is that your student builds a college list filled with institutions that are a good match for them. A match academically, athletically, artistically, geographically, financially, and in all the ways that matter to you and to your family. As we talk through building a balanced list, what we believe is that list building begins with introspection. We want your students to understand their own strengths. We want them to understand what perhaps areas for improvement may be. And one of the ways that we do that is through the tool called Principles U that's found within SCORE. Principles U takes about 30 to 40 minutes to complete. Your students have already started this through a college counseling seminar, and they will have time during their day to finish it. What we hope is that they review the information provided by Principles U once they complete it. So Principles U will produce a very robust set of data. It's about 10 to 15 pages worth of content that reviews students' strengths, reviews how they learn, how they make decisions, how they work with others, provides words and phrases and ways of understanding themselves that they maybe have never considered before, which is part of why we really love this tool. As counselors, we have access to the information, gives us deeper insight into your students, really does help us personalize our guidance and helps us understand how to best connect with each of your students. The results will be available to parents, and so we do encourage you, once it's complete, to take a look and to also use this as you're helping your student identify colleges that can be a good match. There are a couple other personality and assessment tools that we use, but Principles U is certainly the most robust and the most detailed. Okay, so in doing college research, number of ways to learn about different institutions, but these are some of the tools I like the most. All right, so a major element in building strong, thoughtful college list is doing college research. Fortunately, there are an incredible number of college search engines available to your student. They could use really any of them that they find to be most user-friendly or most interesting. But two listed here are trusted resources, Big Future by College Board. And then here at the bottom, you can't quite tell from that visual, but that is a picture of the search engine within SCORE. I love both of those websites. I think they do a nice job of asking your student to share some criteria and to share some details about their academic profile, and then provide information about colleges that could be a good match. Once you see the list of colleges, you can do a double click into individual profile pages where you'll see great summary information about what each of those schools offers, their size, their location, and details about their student body. Another online tool that I am only recently starting to recommend is ChatGPT. So for all of the challenges that AI can present, I do like ChatGPT for the college research piece. So specific prompts that might be helpful. I enjoyed my Furman tour. However, I want a bigger college. What bigger schools feel a little bit like Furman? And then letting ChatGPT give you some insight and give you some guidance into schools that might make sense based on what it was your student liked or disliked about their Furman visit. This is, of course, to be used with caution, but I do like it as a brainstorming tool, and I like it as a way to help streamline some of what you might be thinking into one place, and to do it pretty quickly. All right, so in addition to college websites, there are a number of books in this process that I find particularly helpful. These are all books that we have available in our college counseling offices. Happy to have students or families check them out, take them, borrow them. I specifically love the Fisk guide, and I like it because it shares details about colleges, and it's written by people who are not affiliated with those colleges. So of course, when you're looking at a college brochure or a website or taking a tour, those resources are managed or created by people who either love or work for or care deeply for that institution, whereas the Fisk Guide tends to be more neutral sources. As an example, I can share a bit about what it says in regards to Vanderbilt in Nashville, Tennessee. This guide shares that Vanderbilt's a place where students work hard and play hard. Campus is polished and has high achieving students. It can be exciting and motivating, but it can also feel a little image conscious at first. So you can see it's positive, but it's also realistic. And I love using the Fisk Guide for students who maybe are trying to decide, is it worth taking time and energy to visit this campus? Like, should I make the trip to Nashville or not? And perhaps something they read in this guide either pushes them into confidence they should visit or into feeling more confident that they don't need to visit because it's not going to be the right school for them. The Alumni Factor is another book I love. This is based on summary data from alumni. And so it shares details about career networks, job prospects, really getting a little bit at the sort of return on investment. It's a resource I find parents really enjoy searching through, and one that, again, is available for you to check out at any point. The next two books are really bigger picture reads. Where You'll Go is Not Who You'll Be is always at the top of my list for parents. The message here is simple and it's important. Rankings do not determine your child's success. Fit is what determines their success. I also love Colleges That Change Lives. Each chapter highlights a school that's transformative in its own way. It's great if one of those schools is on the list in terms of helping understand bigger picture what they have to offer. But more than that, what I really love is the intro, something that I wish every family could read. It shares, again, more details about why fit matters more than rankings and about how it's really challenging to compare what's happening in a biology classroom at Chapel Hill with what might be happening in a philosophy class at Bowdoin in Maine. So just really helping provide that perspective that you've got to have a bigger perspective on this process. And again, need to be introspective to really understand what's going to matter for your student. Ultimately, with the list, what we hope is that the student's talents, strengths, and goals align with what a college has to offer, and that the college matches that a student identifies has both of those things. Caitlin and I do not believe in what you might call a Goldilocks model of admission. We do not believe that there is only one college that is a perfect fit for your student. We believe there are many colleges that can be a perfect fit for your student. Our hope is that we can identify 5, 6, 7 of those schools, and that is what your student's list consists of. We can't talk about a balanced list without talking about outcomes. The terms you will hear us use most often in terms of outcomes are likely, target, and reach. A likely college is a college where your student's academic profile is stronger than the middle 50% of students who are typically admitted. A target school is exactly what it sounds like. It's a school where the academic profile of admitted students matches your student's academic profile. We don't consider target schools guarantees, but we do consider them to be places where your student is right on target to receive a favorable decision. Reach schools are schools where your student's academic profile is not as strong as the middle 50% of students who are typically admitted. We'll also typically use the term reach to describe a school that has an acceptance rate of about 15% or less. Colleges that are that highly selective typically have a critical mass that's pretty extreme. And what we know to be true is that every year they are either waitlisting or perhaps declining students who absolutely could be successful at their university, but who they simply don't have space for. So when we talk about reach schools, it could be for a couple of reasons. We will help clarify why we're using the phrase reach to you and your student, depending on the individual circumstances. So to determine outcomes, you can use all the resources I've already mentioned: books, websites, counselor conversations with the admission office. But one tool we want to make sure you're all familiar with are scattergrams. These are within your score accounts, both parents and students can access these scattergrams. What you're looking at is data that is exclusive to Davidson Day applicants. So each character here represents an application that came from Davidson Day within the last 4 years. Green circles are accepted students, red triangles are students who were denied, blue circles are students who were waitlisted. This is so helpful because it helps cut through some of the noise of what might be shared from a college that's covering students from all parts of the US or even international students. It's very specific, and it does help highlight what's needed from students in our communities specifically to see the admission outcomes. The numbers that you see here, the GPA, it's important to know that is an end of senior year weighted GPA. Then you also see plotted the highest SAT or ACT score. Now, what you can't see here is, was the student taking advantage of a test optional policy? Maybe they didn't submit their SAT or ACT. You can't see what program the student applied for. At some colleges, major choice does impact admission decisions. You also can't see here, was there any hook that this student had that maybe impacted their application for better or for worse? So a lot of details are missing, but the gist of the academic profile is here and is covered. Looking at this should help you understand a little bit better where your student might fall. The specific scattergram is for Clemson, a popular school among Davidson Day students, which is why it's very well populated. I will add a note of clarity. These scattergrams only populate for colleges where we've had at least 4 acceptances and at least 2 declines. And so the point of that is to protect data. It's for privacy issues. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next scattergram. This one is for UNC Charlotte. You can see the data points look just a bit different, still very robust, still very helpful. Here you see the introduction of this yellow circle. Those yellow circles represent students who were deferred, but then admitted. So a little more clarity on what their process looked like. One important detail about scattergrams, if you're looking within your student's account, you will actually see your student's data plotted as a purple star. Your student is being plotted based on their current highest test score, which is unlikely to be the highest score they ever earn. I think they'll continue testing and you'll see scores go up. They're also being plotted based on their end of sophomore year weighted GPA, because that is currently their GPA. So you do have to do a little bit of predictive modeling to understand where ultimately they'll fall. We can help with that predictive modeling, but I do want to say, when you look, I don't want you to feel discouraged if your student is landing in an area that doesn't look as favorable as you hoped, because again, you've got to know they've got 2 more years of grades and then they've got more testing to do before we'll know exactly where they fall on this graph. So just some summary details in terms of building the list. What we'd like your list to include: 6 to 8 colleges. This is a recommendation really from a time management perspective. This takes time and it's detail oriented. And so 6 to 8 is a number that feels really manageable to us. That being said, every year we have students who apply to only 1 college, and we typically have 1 or more students applying to 20 colleges. They have various reasons for that, and we support our students through each of those scenarios. But we have found for most students, 6 to 8 is really what works well. We also want your students to have at least 1 likely school. We want them to have a school in the mix where they can be fairly confident of admission. And what's really important is that it's also a school where they can see themselves enrolling. The presence of a likely school, we think, eliminates anxiety. We think eliminates whatever nerves they might feel as they're waiting on news from some of the more selective institutions. We love target schools. We're happy with reach schools. So those can be on each list and should be on each list. But big picture, here's some of the things we're thinking about. It's also a place where I want to mention, you've heard me say likely school several times. What I call likely schools, some students and some parents might say safety school. I understand exactly what you mean when you say safety, but I do want to encourage you to shift your language. I think use of the word safety evokes feelings of less than. And generally, what we hope is that your students have likely schools they're really excited about. And so, again, just want to encourage a little bit of a shift from use of safety school to likely school, and really focus on, again, places that they're excited about, but where they are also likely to be admitted. Ultimately, you've heard me say this already once, but college is a match to be made, not a prize to be won. We want that focus to be on fit above all.
I'll now go through briefly the college application process, including the Common App, score, and some frequently asked questions. The Common App is the universal application platform that your student will use to prepare and submit the majority of their college applications. With over 1,000 colleges accepting the Common App, we are sure that your student is likely to have at least one on this platform. There are exceptions, such as Georgetown, but most will start and apply through the Common App. It is a single online college application platform that continues to grow in popularity, and thus our students will begin working in their Common App this spring. We work closely with all students on all sections of the form, but in particular, students spend most of their time editing the following sections: profile, activities, and writing. The application goes live annually on August 1st. Each year, we kick off the student's senior year with a college application boot camp in August before their senior year begins to get a head start on this application. Students in English composition have spent a week of their semester working on their personal essays too. So in theory, a Davidson Day student can have a significant portion of their application completed before the senior year even begins. They've applied. What happens next? We as the counselors send the following documents directly from SCORE. I'll go through each of these briefly. The transcript is their comprehensive record of courses and grades taken throughout high school. You'll take a look at this in depth in your junior family meeting, and students will review them again in September of their senior year. Our school profile is updated yearly by the College Counseling Office and is public on our external website. The comprehensive counselor letter is one that we write for every student and is a unique aspect of being a student at Davidson Day and is a valuable additive to their college applications. Your student will meet with their counselor late spring to determine their teacher recommenders and ask 2 teachers prior to heading out for summer to write on their behalf. There's a Global Studies Diploma profile and transcript created by Program Director Matt Saunders for each student that we send with the above documents. We will talk about all these in great detail in the fall of your senior year, but for now, we want you to know what is created and provided for each student in the application process and how they apply and how those 2 systems work together. So what other factors are considered in the application review process? Well, answer: institutional priorities at the college or university where your student is applying. Institutional priorities, what is that? Are essentially bucketed into 2 factors, 2 areas. One is the way a student or an institution wants to shape their freshman class. The other are some external factors. Application numbers are influenced by students applying to more and more colleges. Also, international students, the common application, etc. At most selective institutions, college admission has become somewhat unpredictable. We know students who are well qualified and can do the work may be declined. If you or your student find yourself in this situation, it's not a measure of your worth or a judgment of your ability. We hope and know they will all have acceptances. And we've seen that happen year to year. But to be in control of this process and not put yourself in an overwhelmed space, this is why we talk so much about balance. This is also why we want you to know that there are institutional priorities that can and do, in fact, impact an admission cycle year to year. Well, what can the student control? We want the student to see their application as their voice to tell their story. Have an authentic, efficient, and effective way to do that, and you will most definitely control this process. And always remember, comparison is the thief of joy. Don't be caught up in comparing yourself to others, because at the end of the day, we don't want your joy stolen in this process. We encourage, as we hope you will too, your student to drive towards that balanced college list, as mentioned by Ms. Hill earlier this evening. Balance all around is a key to a successful college search and application process.
Okay, and before we wrap up, I just want to share a few thoughts about the roles and responsibilities of everybody in this process. So, if we're talking about students, parents, and counselors, everybody has a part to play. We like to use this analogy of a car. We think it's easy to remember, we think it's easy to reference. If we're all in a car together, students need to be the drivers. Students are in charge of this process. They are the ones seeking a place that they fit and a place where they can be successful. And they're the ones that have to take action and do the work of completing applications. Parents are passengers. They're essential, important, necessary, but need to be in the passenger role. Parents are needed to help connect the dots on what they know about their student, what they know about each college, how that fits together, also to help with logistics, to help in conversations about finances, but can't do the work for the student, and again, are passengers. To finish the analogy, we see counselors as the GPS. We want to help you reach your end destination. We want to help you find the path of least resistance, and we want to help reroute if we think you've taken a wrong turn, but we are a guide. We cannot do the work on your behalf, but we will guide you every step of the way. So again, the analogy is a little goofy, but it is easy to remember, and it's something you'll hear us reference throughout the next year. Lastly, we would like to put this on your radar to save the date. We are hosting case studies for the second year in a row, and we are thrilled about this. So last year we had this program in partnership with Cannon School at Davidson Day. This year the program is likely to be at Cannon School, but not yet confirmed. However, the date is official. It will be on Sunday, April 26th, likely starting around 1 p.m. This is an event where students, parents get to serve as mock admission committees and actually go through the motions of reviewing applications and making admission decisions. We truly think there's no better exercise in terms of helping you see the big picture, helping you understand what applications look like, what makes them stand out. We hope you'll join us. If you joined us last year, we still think that there is great value to attending again. And after the case studies, there will be a college fair. Last year, we had about 70 institutions. We're expecting a similar turnout this year. So please, again, save the date. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for watching. We look forward to partnering with you and partnering with your student throughout their college search process.